So here's what's going on. I happen to be at O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and you know I frequently patronize that place. A couple came in and they were trying to look for this switch. This switch is like $100. It's a stop lamp switch for a 2017 Nissan Sentra. I didn't diagnose this car. I have no knowing about what's going on besides the fact that they had a intermittent no start. Okay, with that being said, I felt bad for him, and I was like, you know what? Let me do a good deed for the day. We'll see what happens. So being that the parts store didn't have this switch, it was like $100 or something if I recall, and it had to be special order. I said, look, just bring it. Let me take a look at it. So I got it here in my garage, and I don't know if it was diagnosed properly, but the basic preliminary test that I did while it's in my possession now shows that it's a functioning switch. But at the same time, I did disassemble this. Okay. And maybe I inadvertently fixed it by disassembling it. And I'm going to show you what I did, because I was like, this is a stupid system. It just looked like it can be fixed. So I did let me put this in here, do a continuity test. I was looking at the wiring diagram for this particular vehicle for the stop lamp switch, because there's two different switches. There's a 4-pin and there's a 2-pin. This is evidently the 2-pin. And it had a 12-volt source going to it, a 10-amp fuse. And it went to another location. I think it wound up going to the lamps, the exterior lamps. But long story short, I know it supports 10 amps. All right. So I got a load tester, which is going to be right there. It's just a 4-amp light. That's going to be my load test. So far, all I'm going to do is just close and open the switch. And it has continuity. The thing is, well, does it support a load? So I'm closing, opening, closing. Okay, so naturally, I'd imagine when it's released, well, depending on where it's located, it should close a circuit. It should close a circuit. That's what I'd imagine. But I think because of where it is, if it's a high mount and it engages like this, above where it pivots, then it should close it. So the bottom where the pendulum is, I guess the pivot bolt, where it is, when you push it, your foot goes down, but the other portion comes back, and I think that's what happens. Not knowing how this works because I didn't diagnose it, I'm going to load test this, and if it supports the load just like it did off camera, I'm going to show you that it can be taken apart and cleaned. This is just a visual representation of the load that it can support. So this is just this right here. So let me see if I can get this light away because it'll go against the camera. So that light is a 4-amp light. All right, that's what we're measuring, 4 amps here. To support 4 amps. So hopefully it was diagnosed properly. That's my proof that it supports a load. But I'm going to disconnect it and clean it anyway, just to reinforce the idea that this is fixed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to disassemble this. These 2 tabs here, I did open up once and damage that. So I'm going to put that back there. There's the other one. Put this here and lift up simultaneously. Pops open. Orientation. That's where I think it doesn't matter if it goes back in this way or that way, because the only thing this do is recedes. So once this is pressed, that shaft goes up pushes against this device and bridges the connection. So let's pull it out. And here we have spring-loaded tension. There's our contact points in the side there. You can see the marks, the trail where those fingers have came in contact with the body and rubbed in the casing there. So what I'm going to do, I'm simply just going to clean these off. There's some dielectric grease on it, and it just wipes right off. And increase the spring tension. Now, I didn't change the spring tension. I just simply pulled it out when I was at the parts store. So what I'm going to do, because these are clean, I'm just going to push out. And it's going to increase the spring tension. Just elevate them a little bit. And now it has more tension. The area is already pretty clean. Let's look inside of here. What can happen because of how this is designed, let me see if I can pull this spring out. I can. Let's put that down to the side here. Because of the load, the low spring tension, it'll create high resistance and kill the contact points. And I should just I'll probably just take a Q-tip, go inside of there and clean it off. And maybe our culprit there, but I wanna clean that up pretty good. Let me go grab a Q-tip first and see how it responds to that. Okay, I'm back. It is raining here. Let's get this in there. Oh, wrong area. Okay, let's get this in there. Yeah, it wipes right on off. Cleans it right on up. You can see those marks, those engravements. That's what's going to be our common area, the spring tension, right there. Those claws, and it rubs right on off. So we could have had assuming it was diagnosed properly, they probably just could have had a spring tension problem. There's no contact points here, so that's probably what was going on. Notice that there's no engravements there. Look how light that is in comparison to that side. And what it is, it just simply bridges those two. So when this is up, there's no contact. There's no contact up here in this atmosphere because it's plastic, and once you push down, that's when the contact gets bridged where we saw those engravements or our witness marks. So I think that's pretty much all this needed. It supports a 4 amp load. The guy actually pulled up that owns this, so no big deal. This is going to be real quick and easy. So being that there's no witness marks on this side and it supports the load still, I think just creating the spring tension here is just going to resolve this problem, and which it should. And it's pretty forceful now. I'm going to put that back down in there, and it arrives just fine. I'm not going to put any dielectric grease in there because it can create more problems than none, so I'm going to leave that off. The plastic should do just fine. Let me see here. As a matter of fact, I don't want to put it in there because I've just had problems with dielectric grease at times. This should be fine. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to reassemble it, and we're just going to test the load again and see how it responds to that. Pop this back in. Orientation shouldn't matter because this can be adjusted. That's fine there. Let's do that same load test. I'm not worried about continuity. I'm just worried about its ability to support a load now because continuity don't tell you much. Still supports a load. Alright, cool. Well, I'm going to show the owner of this that it works and it functions. Explain the logic behind it. And he should be good to go, assuming it was diagnosed properly. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed how to originally my work. See you on next one.